If you could guess something from the beginning of this video, I like paper books. Even when it comes to programming books, which is kind of a career that revolves in digital world, I still prefer pen and paper and books and print and everything that's tangible, because come on, we have too much digital stuff already. And these are all the paper books that I own. I already talked about these books in the previous video because these are all new. All of these books I had before. They're actually collected over the years. And if you're interested, why would somebody have so many paper books and which ones deserve to be paper books and maybe which ones I do regret buying, stay tuned. If you guys also have some paper books that you really love having in the paper physical version that you can hold in your hands, let me know in the comments. I am super curious what other people think about it. We're gonna start with the area that concerns probably every programmer at some point in time, and this is algorithms. I have 3 books about algorithms that range from the easiest one to the hardest one. Let's start with the hardest one. And that's actually the book that I do not recommend to people who are starting with algorithms, because I find it quite difficult. And not the manner of explanations, because I actually like the explanations in the book. They are easy and you can kind of read them for fun. But it also has a lot of details and a lot of exercises and proofs. And I don't think this is the best way to learn data structures and algorithms, especially when you're just starting out. It's just too much. I mostly use this book when I'm trying to research some topic or I need some details or I'm making a video. For example, when I was making videos about graphs, I read quite a lot from this book, and probably for the first time, because I did not read the whole thing. I only read the sections that I liked. And this is, by the way, one of the points that I keep repeating in every video I make about books. Books are tools. They're supposed to work for us. It's not sacred scripts that we need to hold on to and read cover to cover and remember every single word. It's a tool. I have a goal. It helps me solve my goal, or it does not. And that is the main reason I prefer paper books, because it helps me focus better. So it helps me solve my goal better. Another book about algorithms is a very similar book. I didn't actually buy it. I kind of inherited it. And I find it a way easier to read, especially if you're into proofs or you need to know them for university or something else. I find this book way easier than the Cormen book that's heavy. It's also way lighter. I find this book easier than this one. Usually when I research a topic, I just research it in both books and I get quite of a different perspective, so I'm happy to have both. Would I have bought both if I had to choose? Probably no. But if you're just starting out with data structures and algorithm, I have a solution for you. This book is the best of the best of the best, because it explains everything in super simple terms, maybe oversimplified at some point, but it kind of helps guide this bridge between data structures are so difficult to data structures are actually fun and they're everywhere. I cannot recommend it enough. I actually bought it after I was already familiar with the whole thing, but I still enjoyed it because it's fun and things should be fun. Oh, I destroyed my neat circle. Let's fix it. Okay, next one is the book that I actually regret buying, and this is DevOps Handbook. I'm sorry, I don't think it's a bad book, but it's a very common sense book. There are not a lot of concrete things in this book, concrete examples, techniques, and approaches, but it's very generic. Just like, you know, you have to add continuous integration for things to run smoothly. Thank you, we know. I mean, maybe it would be nice to read 10 years ago, but not now. I bought it because I had such good recommendations and I really tried reading it very intensely and I was making notes, and eventually I understood that I'm not getting any value from this book. I'm having great time reading it because it confirms what I already know, which feels good, but I didn't get anything from it, especially since I got it when I was struggling to understand the whole idea of clouds and Terraform and how do we build infrastructure as a code, how do we deploy everything, and I needed this DevOps knowledge, and this did not help. The next book is a weird one. I don't know why I have it. I don't know why I bought it. I don't know what was the thought behind it. It's the Refactoring book by Martin Fowler and Kent Beck. I do think that refactoring is one of the most important things, especially now with AI writing horrible slop that we have to manage somehow. And I do want to use this book as a base for teaching my AI agent how to refactor code the way I like it. But I have to say this has not been on the list of my priorities for a while, so we'll see how that goes. The next book changed my life, and this is the book I would never recommend to anybody because it also wrecked my brain. It's a book about compilers, how compilers are built, how they process the text, and how they interpret it, which tools are used in the compiler building. And as you can see by my notes, I was only interested in the text parsing part of the book, and that was because in one of my previous jobs I had to write a DSL and parse it using the abstract syntax tree. I'm kind of regretting my lightning situation, but bear with me. The compilers. When I started working with building ASTs, I found them so complex that I just could not wrap my mind around it, and I had to build and modify the language grammar without understanding how would it actually work. So this book helped a lot. I read it maybe 7 years ago, and when I say I read it, I only read the first part, like this part, because as you remember, books are tools, they have to solve a problem, and I did not have problems of building a compiler. But the text parsing thing helped a lot, and this is the book where I actually did the suggested exercises because they really helped to figure out what do I need to do to build the AST. So I still have this book, I still love it because it helped me so much back then, and it kind of shaped my career in a way. Not that I'm building compilers, but it kind of got me to a position where I could make changes, and I grew from there. So thank you, book. You will forever stay on my shelf. Next book is another disappointment. I bought this book because a colleague recommended it to me. He was completely over the moon about the book, saying that it was super helpful and it contained everything that he needed to know about building microservices. And the only thing that I already knew all of that. This book does not really go into details. It's mostly about the broad picture, and I already had the broad picture, so this book was kind of useless for me. I do keep it close by, and I do open it sometimes, and I read the parts that I want. So paper book for the win. And I think I could have gone without it. I think if you're new to the microservices as a thing, you will find a lot of important information on it. I would actually say if you don't know anything about microservices, how they communicate, how to build the resilient, reliable microservice architecture, you have to start with this book because you can cut so many corners with it. Everything that I've learned quite painfully, you will just know. Yeah, every book has its timing. You have to pick it wisely. And just to make sure that I do have books that I like, next book I actually liked a lot, and it's Software Engineering at Google. I read this book because I was really curious about how big companies handle the problems that smaller companies also have, because you'd think that with a lot of resources they kind of figured it out. And indeed, I found a lot of useful tricks in this book. And while I couldn't really use a lot of them because, you know, I don't dictate what my organization does, I did get this nice idea of what's going on. I didn't really cover the second part of the book that talks about the tools that they're using because I'm not that interested in the tools that they're using right now. I mentioned it in my video about not having to finish a book if you don't need to. Check it out if you still have this notion that you have to read the book cover to cover. Maybe it'll help. I only read what I need from the books, and that's why I can cover that much information, and maybe that's why I know too much to read the microservices book. Anyway, I love this book. Very nice. Would I enjoy this book in a digital format? Yes. This book could have been a Kindle, but it was still nice to read on paper. Obviously, I have the Designing Data-Intensive Applications as a paper book, because this is a Bible and it just made me blind. This is the book that everybody should have in whatever format, but again, I find the paper format way better than the digital one for this particular book, because you can put the bookmarks at the parts that you need to remember, or you can put the notes in, or you can just like keep it on your desk and read it while you're waiting for the compilation, for the tests, or to be fair, for your AI agent to write the code for you, because I think this is something that everybody should read. It's amazing, and I do love having it in a paper version. This is like 10 out of 10. And the last book that I have, they were actually in no particular order, is Domain-Driven Design. I do think that designing applications, and not just from a technical perspective, but also from business perspective, is one of the most important things, especially going forward, because the coding part becomes less and less of a priority, and instead we want to focus on building something for the business to move it forward. And designing the application is very difficult because everything is changing. Like, I think one of the rules of the good business is that it can quickly adapt to the changes, and designing around that is practically impossible. And that's why I respect domain-driven design so much, because it acknowledges this idea and it tries to build up on the real world instead of, thoughts and prayers of software architects. The only problem with that book is that it's getting very philosophical at some point, and I find it quite difficult to read. So I do think this book could have been shorter, but I'm not the one to judge. I do think that it's nice to have this book in paper, because when you read a digital book, it's quite difficult to skim read, and I do that a lot. So I open the chapter and I just look at the pictures. I looked at the headings and I try to figure out if it's gonna solve my problem or not, and it's way more difficult to do with digital versions, especially since I read mostly on e-ink like Kindle or other digital readers. I say for the purpose of this video, but I actually only have Kindle. I find it difficult to read big books from the screen of my laptop or iPad, although I do read from the iPad sometimes, and that was the case with the Understanding Distributed Systems. And I'm gonna cheat a little bit and take it from the pile of new books, because it's only a new book because I loved it so much that I got it in a paper version. I had a digital version of it that I was reading on the iPad. It was convenient. I was making handwritten notes there. I wanted to keep it on my desk. I want to open it on a page and keep it open, and I want to make my notes, make them stick out of the book. I want to skim read, and I just want to have everything in my hands. There is too much digital stuff and I cannot handle it. I think this is it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you think I'm weird, that is probably true. And if you're curious about that pile, you can check out my video where I talk about the books that I bought this year. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video.